Or say, hey guys, it's Klaus. Welcome back to another video. Hey, today I want to talk to you about the term overpowered. It's a term that as individuals we throw around sometimes when you get killed by someone and you're pissed off and you say, oh, that tank's just overpowered, needs to be nerfed. You get owned by something and that's the first excuse. Well, that's just overpowered. There's Russian bias in this game. All the Russian tanks are overpowered. As individuals, we throw those terms around a lot, and you ever stop to think, well, what exactly does overpowered mean? What does it mean? Well, in order to understand that, you got to understand a little bit about statistics. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about statistics and what overpowered means, and then we'll figure out which is the most overpowered tank in the game today. And it's not this one. Alex the Assassin is in his little French tank here. He's going to have a great game, but let me ramble a little bit here. So statistics. Well, there's so many statistics in this game. We measure win rate, we measure damage per game, dozens and dozens of statistics. And you can sort all the tanks and all the players based on statistics, and you can figure out that you're a tomato, you're a purple unicum, and all, yada, 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 on and on and on. And you can figure out which tanks are statistically better than others. Now, what does that, what does that mean? What does it mean when a tank is overpowered? You look at some of the statistics, and you'll see, well, this is an average tank. It's a German tank, and it has overall, after millions of games, a 49% win rate on average. And you think, oh, that's not very well. But you think about that. That's half the time it loses, half the time it wins, with a few draws thrown in there, which are counted as losses. So 49% win rate overall. Statistically, you don't stand a better chance of winning for your team or losing. You're just an average. You're just fluff. Your tank, and that's with all the players and all the statistics taken into account, just looking at the results. Then you have other tanks that that hover around that kind of average, but some rank higher and some rank lower, statistically, or when you look at all the statistics. But they don't vary a lot. When you just look at the numbers, you'll see, well, this tank has a 52% win rate, and this one here is around 49 to 50. Oh, that 52% win rate tank is overpowered. Oh. Well, it's only 2%, right? That's what a lot of people say. It's not overpowered. That's just statistics, and good players play that, and there's other reasons, and there's a lot of explanations that people come up with, which is just their gut feel that has nothing to do with statistics. Yeah, it is statistics. Statistics don't lie. So let's just, as an example, you pick the tank with the highest win rate, and then you look at the average damage that tank does. And you look at all the games ever played in that tank, and you plot the damage that tank does per game, and you'll get a distribution. And it will be a log normal distribution. It'll be a statistical sample, and they all look the same. When you take a sample, a large sample, it's a bell curve. Most of the results will be around the average in the middle. That's where most of the results will be. And the tail end to the left will be the absolute shit games where it goes to zero. There'll be few results with that. There'll be most of the results in the middle that hover around the average, and then there will be the right side of that curve will be the absolute fantastic games where it will asymptotically approach a game where one player in that tank gets all the damage. And there fewer and fewer games the further you go to the right, fewer and fewer results the further you go to the left, most of the results in the middle. So let's say you've plotted that the average damage per game for what's the highest win rate tank in the game. Then you look at a tank that has kind of an average win rate, and you plot the average damage per game on the same graph, and you'll get a curve that looks exactly the same shape, but the apex of that curve will be slightly to the left, slightly worse. That tank will have slightly less average damage per game. Assuming everything, same tier, blah, 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 right? You have to make sure you're comparing apples with apples. And so most of the results will all be centered in the middle. So you have situations where the best tank will have a game and get less damage than a tank that's not as a lower win rate tank. You'll have situations where you're playing the statistically low win rate tank, and you'll win and get triple the damage of a tank on the enemy team that is a high win rate, quote unquote, tank statistically. And you'll think on a one-off observation, well, you know, I don't see any bias. I don't think that's OP. But statistically, that curve is slightly to the left for the tank with the lower win rate. Now, that doesn't make much of a difference in the middle where the millions and millions of the average games are, because you know, you get all the combinations. Sometimes you're better, sometimes you're worse. There's you can, like I just described, you can outplay a tank with a higher win rate and a lower win rate tank many times. But where it makes the difference is on the feather edges, way to the left and way to the right. Now, way to the left, you will, in every tank, have those players that have games with 0. They will all converge to 0 because everyone has a shit game every now and then. But where you really see the difference is on the right side of the curve, where the extreme great game, where a player gets all the damage. And that may happen one time, where one player, one tank gets all the damage. Now, what happens when you look at those curves that are the tank with the better win rate? The whole distribution is slightly to the right, only by, you know, that 2% margin. Doesn't make much of a difference in the middle of the curve where all the population, all the statistics sit. But way to the right, it makes a huge difference because you've pushed the curve with the small numbers to the right. So you'll have the tank that's statistically only by a few percent better on the extreme case will completely dominate the statistics. Okay, because you've pushed that curve out to the feather edge where there's not a lot of samples, and the one that's statistically better by win rate by only a couple of percent will completely dominate the statistics on the most damage per game. That's how statistics work. Thanks for the game there, Alex. You did really well. But let's have a look here and see if we can find the most overpowered tank in the game. Okay, let's have a look here. Okay, so you want to know which is the most overpowered tank in the game right now. So let's go to a place where there's a large statistical sample, and there's various places you can go. This one here, World of Tanks, WOTreplays.com. People load their replays here. There's millions and millions of replays loaded on this site. Let's just do a little sorting here so that we can find the end member, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to just look at regular type battles, just regular battles, not I don't want to see frontline or anything. We're going to sort by damage. Why not? The tank that does the most damage. What other options did they have there? Experience, date, damage, frags, downloads, credit. Yeah, this is probably the best measure of what would be the most overpowered one. Damage, this version, regular, and let's see. Out of the millions, which is the one that had the most damage? Oh, the Object 268 version 4. But that's just one. Let's remember, there's millions loaded here. So let's look at the first 3 pages here. Okay, Object 268 version 4, the Panhard. Remember those little wheeled vehicles I said that in the hands of a great player, they would be good. Now look, the Chieftain. FV, the Panhard again. Oh, the Chieftain again. Object 268 version 4. The Chieftain again. So just on the first page, we have 3 Chieftains, 2 Object 268 version 4s, and 2 Panhard EBR 105s. Okay, those 3 tanks. Let's check the next page here. A VK, a TVP, an FV again. A Leopard. Whoa, a guy in a Leopard got quite a bit of damage, 11,000 damage. FV, oh, a Chieftain again. Another object. Super Conqueror. One more page. Oh, a Chieftain. A Chieftain. Okay, so, and another Chieftain. So there's your answer. What is the most overpowered tank in the game right now? The Chieftain. T95 FV4201 Chieftain is the most overpowered tank in the game. So, what's the top Chieftain replay we have here? This one. Let's watch this. I'm going to download that. Let's watch this game. And before you decide to rush out and grind and get yourself a Chieftain, you can't, because this is a reward tank for clan members. So there's a bunch of good players playing this tank as well. And you're probably thinking, oh, Claus, it's only on the top because only good players play with it. well, good players play other tanks as well. Statistics don't lie when you look at millions and millions of samples. Okay, and this is why, like, I don't have to go and do the detailed garage review on every tank. I don't have to go into Tank Inspector and make graphs and spreadsheets and compare this and compare that. It's all smoke and mirrors. Basically, I give you guys the no bullshit answer. You just look at the statistics, and that little exercise that we just did there, just looking at the results of millions and millions of uploads in the latest patch, and in the top 3 pages, there's the 10 Chieftain games out of 30. This is the most overpowered tank in the game. The statistics don't lie, and I guarantee that if you were to look up the win rate with this tank now, it's going to be a couple, 3% better than most of the other tanks. The distribution of all the games, the hundreds of thousands of games played with this thing, on average, damage-wise, is going to be a little bit better than average. You're going to play a game with a Chieftain on the other side, and you're going to easily flank him and kill him, and you're going to say, oh, he's not overpowered. But that's just one event. And this is the thing. See, this is people abuse statistics. I've watched videos of a video where a guy shows the top 10 tanks according to win rate in the game, and 6 out of 10 are Russian, and then the worst 10 tanks by win rate in the game, and 6 of the worst 10 are German, and then conclude at the end of the video, well, there's no Russian bias in this game. Right? Well, duh. Politicians do this as well. They'll take a statistical sample, they'll take some sort of a statistic, and rather than derive something meaningful or intelligent from that statistic, what they'll do is they'll connive and plot a way of influencing you to vote for them or to promote their agenda using that statistic. Let me give you an example here. I'm going to go out on a limb here and do something politically incorrect and compare men and women. Because men and women are very different, and they're very similar. They're very similar in 90% of ways, because we're both human. We both have 2 legs and 2 arms and a brain, and we function very similarly. But we are slightly different biologically, and we are slightly different psychologically. And psychiatrists, through years and years of study, have determined that on average, I'm just generalizing here, men tend to like doing things with things, manipulating objects, building things, that kind of stuff. They like that on average. And women, on the other hand, on average, don't like that as much. They prefer human interaction dealings, things that involve interacting with people. On average. I mean, you do get the a woman that loves building blocks and building things, and you do get men that love the interaction, the people thing. But on average, and I'm talking about just a minor couple of percent difference, that's a male trait likes to build things, a female trait likes to interact with people. On average. Within a couple of percent in the whole population, which is not a lot, right? When you plot the distribution of men and women, it's almost all the population overlaps, and you can't tell the difference. But on the end members, on the extreme right, where you have these traits in combination with the most intelligent, the most determined, the most driven people that go to school and get university degrees and master's degrees, what is one of the outcomes of this slight variation in their traits? Well, the vast majority of engineers are men, and the vast majority of nurses are women. Now wait, before you launch into an immediate rebuttal of social justice, political correctness, I didn't mention anything to do with whether a man or a woman is smarter than the other, or who's better, or any discussion of anything to do with that. Just simply, I've just talked about statistics and some general discussion of the attributes and the differences between men and women. Now, unfortunately, in the society we live in today, there are people that will use statistics to promote their own agenda and try and manipulate you with those statistics. And I'm talking about politicians. And I don't believe that they're just stupid. I mean, it's easy to characterize them as stupid morons that make stupid decisions. That's just fun to do, and you feel good by doing that. And I do that, you know, as a joke. But I believe it's worse than that. I believe that they understand fully what the statistics mean, and they have advisors and scientists that explain it to them. But yet they choose to connive and lie and manipulate that and create a framework in which they can use those statistics to fool you basically into voting for them again. In the example that I gave you about the you know, most men are, or most engineers are men and most nurses are women, a shrewd selfish politician will capitalize on that statistic and that observation and create some sort of a social justice issue out of it, and go to the extreme of passing laws where companies that employ a large number of engineers must, by law, have 50% of the workforce women and 50% men. Or the government in Canada, who employs all the medical staff, including the nurses, are paid for and employed by our own government in Canada. The government will use the fact that nurses make less money than some other type of profession to capitalize on some sort of a social justice agenda in an effort to make a certain group feel good about what they're doing, and use that fact to pass some ridiculous laws to try and regulate and legislate the outcome. And at the same time, the nurses are on strike every year because the government itself refuses to give them a raise because they can't afford it. And you know, in Canada, the healthcare is quote-unquote free, means it's run by the government. So it's just a complete shit show. And in this game, where it shows up, and the reason I say I give you my no bullshit opinions on some of the new tanks that come out is because you can, every time there's something new in the game, you invariably will see someone pick out that end member. You just go to that list on the website and you find that one game, like that one Leopard game that was one of the extreme high damage games, and we'll show you that extreme game and go on and on about how great the, look at the statistics, look at the accuracy, the mobility, oh my God, the gun depression, and go on and on and on how great it is, and show you that one extreme game, and you will be sold by that. And if it's a premium tank, you'll go out and buy it, and then you'll play it, and you will never, ever have that game because you will just fit into that under the bell curve where 80, 85%, 90% of the results are, which are going to be just, average and worse than all the other tanks that are better. But the sales job gets you. So guys, in conclusion, are there overpowered tanks in the game? Yes. The Chieftain now is the most overpowered tank in the game right now. It's British, so it'll probably get nerfed soon because it's not Russian. And when it does, I will repost this replay to say I told you so. Or what could happen is all the Russian tanks will get buffed, the comparable Russian mediums. But the point is, guys, you can't understand statistics just by giving your gut feel or how you feel about something because you've experienced, once or twice. You've played a game and seen something happen, and therefore you have an opinion, and you just emotionally have an opinion one way or another. No, you have to look at the whole statistical sample, and statistics do not lie. And that's the end of my diatribe today. I hope that was entertaining in some way. It's not always just hysterical shenanigans. You want hysterical shenanigans? I was going to say go watch somewhere else, but no, just watch my video tomorrow, and maybe we'll be hysterical.